Good evening and welcome to Who Do You Love? This is our first program. It's actually being sponsored by Moonstone, and a big shout out right away to Warren Longmire for actually putting this together. He couldn't be with us here tonight. My name is Pringle and I'll be your host. And today discussion will be about the works of Langston Hughes, as well as whether he is still relevant or whether he's passé. So tonight's panelists will introduce themselves. We'll start with the young lady beside me.
Hello everyone, I'm T.S. Hawkins. I'm an international author and performance poet.
Hello, my name is Kirwyn Sutherland. I'm a clinical research professional and performance poet.
Hi, I'm Bruce Robinson. I am the founder and director of Fresh Visions Youth Theater, an African-American theater troupe of young kids that do performances throughout the year.
I welcome you all.
Thank you.
Now let's just jump into the arguments.
Okay.
But anyway, I often say that Langston Hughes, similar to, I would say, Martin Luther King and even Malcolm X, there's a point where there's what they were, and then they fall into folklore and legend. So hopefully tonight, we're going to sort of like talk about who he really was. And I think the same thing is true with King. When you take away the legend and you see the man, you become even more amazed.
Right.
So I'm just going to start off with you. What draws you towards Langston Hughes, or what repels you from Langston Hughes?
I see you started with ladies first.
Yes, ladies first.
Well done. I am drawn to Langston Hughes. I'm not on the passé side, considering, especially with the social climate the way it is right now. Stuff that he wrote about in the 1930s, 1920s is not only relevant, it's ironically sad that it's still poignant. He just has this penchant to talk about the tragedies of life. We were talking in the green room how I compared him. He's kind of like the Black Arthur Miller in the sense of like he takes the tragedies, small tragedies of life, and like, you know what? There'll be a silver lining somewhere, but you just have to be willing to go through it and find it.
Langston Hughes is not passé. Navy, we are looking at him in a passé way.
Okay. Now, I know that during the time that he was writing, a lot of the black intellectuals were not very fond of Langston. Actually, one of them referred to him as the poet laureate of Harlem.
Exactly.
And because of the fact that he, as you just mentioned, he kind of dealt with the everyday existence of blacks. Some actually criticize him for saying that it's bad enough that the white writers were seeing blacks in a less than noble way, and here he is holding us up in a way that was less than noble. I'm going to ask you a question. For me, when I read that, he reminded me of rappers.
Well, yeah.
So in a way, Langston was. I'm going to start with you, Kirwyn.
Yeah.
Among rappers, do you think that Langston has had an influence on rappers? Because once again, it's about telling a story that nobody wants to hear.
Right. Yeah, and it is about that. And it was funny. I put up a Facebook status, and I put up this event, and I was like, Langston Hughes equals J. Cole, and I put a question mark. You know what I mean? Because I see similarities. When I look at somebody like a J. Cole who speaks to the people, whose language or complexity isn't like on 100, but who speaks directly to people and is very relatable. People look to his music like something like "Be Free" that J. Cole did on David Letterman. It was like, oh, like that's relatable. Like that just, and that's how Langston's work is. Like now, I don't know. I'm gonna pick on you because I don't know if you're familiar with. There was a scathing review that James Baldwin, who was one of my heroes, wrote on Langston. And I remember James later on talked about in his life how about killing the father figure. And Langston in many ways I'm just like curious, do you think that that's what fuels some of the people who believe that Langston does not have relevance? Is it the fact that people want to show that I'm sophisticated, I know more than Langston?
Exactly. And that's even still real today. We have this ideology as like, oh, we started from the bottom, now we're here. Where's here? You think, oh, because sometimes you use your $20 words or your $100 words, you forgot that you came from $2 words. So you're separating yourself. Oh, Langston, he speaks to the people. Well, Shakespeare did the same thing, so is he passé? If so, we wouldn't have Shakespeare theaters popping up all over and made to study iambic pentameter, which is not that complicated, by the way. So, it's like,
really.
it's not that complicated.
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
But Shakespeare did the same exact thing that Langston was doing. Meet people where they are and then elevating them to another level. He'll sneak some things in there and it'll sit with you and you'll be like, huh, well, damn, okay. You had to say it like that, but I think because when people start using a still voice, it's like, oh, we can't use them right now because their voice is still. They're not the Amiri Barakas. They're not out there be like waving fingers and doing like this. They're using the still voice to still make a purpose, and that's unsettling for some people.
I'm just curious, as a writer, in what way do you think that Langston's work influenced your own?
Because of the simplicity. There was a point in my life where I was just like, I opened up the source for everything. I was like, I want to say this is sweet, but I want to say it was sweet times 1,000. How can I do that? How can I do that? How can I do that?
It was cloyingly sweet.
Yeah.
There we go.
And so when someone's picking up your work, they're like, what the? So they have your work in one hand, a dictionary in the other, and I can't
And
eat a
confusion
pizza.
in the middle.
It's just too much. So it's just like sometimes sweet works. Sometimes is works. The works. It works. And that's what Langston does, and that's what I appreciate. So I had to go actually back and retrain myself about speaking to the people because I'm writing for them.
Langston Hughes. So again, he inspired me as a young actor. I was a poet back in the day because I was telling TS the poetry scene in Philadelphia was very vibrant in the 70s and the 80s. Writers and Readers Showcase, Robin's Bookstore, which is now Moonstone.
Yes.
Again, he talked to me. I was introduced to him in second grade by my second grade teacher.
Yeah.
And it stuck and it stayed. Dream deferred. You know?
Which is one of those.
Right, well, Raisin in the Sun.
One of those great pieces
Right,
that
so-
pick on you.
I think you just love picking on me because we have the same hairstyle.
Well, yeah,
Oh, wait a minute, don't leave me out.
but you wear it better.
Yes,
You wear it better, you know. I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about being bald. It's not fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
No, it's not. Because I wanted to have
any
hair
hat
like
I want.
Langston. Now, that's one of the things that Langston was. He was like this bon vivant. He was just this debonair man, which I think, which was really interesting when you think about it, is here was this man, and let's be honest, in our community, people who looked that way were given better treatment.
Yeah.
But Langston was one of the first writers who adopted the theme of black is beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, some critics believe that he stuck with that too long. Do you think that he...
How do you stick with that too long? What does that even mean? What does that even mean you stick with it too long?
Right.
You were born black, you die black. This is long.
That's pretty long too, isn't it?
This is long. Change in the middle. This is long. No.
Right. Because that was one of the things that that Baldwin said that, when he reviewed his book in '59, he said that with his great talent, you would think he would have used it more wisely. I'm just curious. Not that you can speak for the intellectuals, although I know you're an intellect.
Yes.
Oh, I
Why?
read.
Why do you think there is that? Because Langston really wasn't loved by the white critics nor the black critics.
Well, because he was in between. And that's that the in-between scares people on so many different levels that we can't even begin to unpack. It's easy when someone says, yes, I'm black. Yes, I'm Indian. Yes, I'm a writer. Yes, I'm a football player. But when people are in the middle and they are comfortable hanging in the middle, it makes them exotically scary.
Okay.
Pick a side.
Because people want you to pick a side. And then, when you're born in that duality of being both black and white or whatever dualities you are, they want you to pick.
Right.
And you're like, but if I do that, I'm discounting this. Am I not to this? Can I not to be this?
I too.
Am America.
I too.
Yes!
Which is basically what that whole poem was about,
Yeah.
the same thing, that duality that existed.
Beautiful.
And I love, that's one of my favorite
Yes.
words.
Do you mind sharing with us? Yes.
Oh, would you like me to share a Langston piece?
Well, actually, I want you to share one of your pieces that was inspired by Langston. Or do you want to do both of them side by side? We have some comp lit here.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll give it a whirl. We'll see where it falls. Because like I said, one of my Democracy was something that I also fell in love with by Langston Hughes, and I too sing America, the political arm. We've shared work together, so you know that's where I sit. So I took apart one of our nation's anthems, so we'll see how that
Go
goes.
for it.
Okay.
Should I hum something underneath it? Mine eyes.
Here we go. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, in a nation where at the age of 3, have to string the tail of the birds and the bees to keep daddy's little girl from shaking hers, while mama's little boy glares, gawks, and stares because the educational Band-Aid left no child behind. For amber waves of grain, served with milk and honey, raped compliments of each queen, and sexually patriarchal. We'll never forget how those gams did fall, and Lady Liberty hung her head in shame, and the war was not her bidding at all. For Purple Mountain's majesty shot a man on top of one for having a dream. His son stopped and frisked for walking in the crisp white air. His son murdered for candy and tea, and his son for driving while different, and his son for the sway in his wrist, and not from a kiss, from a miss, but basked and beaten and left in a ditch just for standing one's ground. Above the fruited plains, padded parchment now making gay and queer nouns verbed out of the Constitution. Battle for amended promises, commercialism headlines, insert the new black. How about that? Never seen any one of them stroke a mule or prance for a 40-acre apology. America, America has no comment. God shed his grace on thee. And how's that petition going for removing his name off the money? Legal tendered and separating church and state and big business banks on bailouts, praying for the golden parachute to fall into their hole, burying the general pop in fees and legalese. And crown thy good, only if they're famous. Adopt international children, rap auto-tune progress, and willing to twerk and sambo for Insta-fame to keep the revolution from being televised on the Wheaties box. With brotherhood, hashtag fraternal order of pomp and circumstance. From sea to shining sea. Our largest exports: inhumanity, racism, sexism, and homophobia. How beautiful. Wow.
Love it, love it, love it. I mean, well, I'm telling you, we're almost coming to an end. We get to spend a little bit more time together. I'm just going to ask you all for some final thoughts on Langston, but I'm going to make it difficult. I want you to give me no more than 4 words what Langston means to you. I'll start.
Thank you.
I can't measure it.
Easy, fierce, uncompromising, true, beautiful.
Beautiful, amen.
The tale never dies.
The tale never dies. You said amen.
I like to say visionary, and still here.
Still here.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Beautiful.
I agree with that.
You did good.
I know. See, I love doing this mean stuff because if I told you had more time, you would have taken more time to do it. Langston Hughes is a great American poet. And I think that I'm going to ask you all, as artists who are black, as well as artists, how do you sort of like walk that? You have the final word?
Oh, okay. My art is a constant reminder that I am black, that there is brownness. Growing up in a society that teaches you have to speak this way and walk this way, trying to erase whatever culture that may be innate, my art reminds me that I'm black, and it is beautiful.
Oh, I love that. I wish I had said that. I wish I had said that. Please come back to join us next month, where our discussion will be Who Do You Love? Amiri Baraka. Once again, thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.